Look, if you want to know what Jesus was talking about, you need to read scripture between the lines, not reading the lines. What does that mean? It simply means reading it from an aloof point of view, knowing that the author or authors are writing it to an audience that may not have the understanding they have. And so that's where you will get puns. That's where you will get parables, riddles, and the Bible is filled with that. And extra biblical text as well. So to know what Jesus was talking about and to know Jesus' purpose, you need to read between the lines. If you do decide to read between the lines, you may find that throughout the Bible and what Jesus is talking about is cosmology, astrology, esoteric science, the occult. You see, Jesus was known as an Essene, E-S-S-E-N-E, or E-S-S-C-E-N-E. I cannot remember the spelling, but an Essene. An Essene is somebody who studies esoterics. An Essene is also known as an ascetic person, someone who abstains from the indulgences that most of us as human beings partake in. Remember, the universe is all about cause and effect and attraction. So if you are an ascetic person, for example, and you do give up something that you crave, I can assure you, you will get something in return from the universe. So he was an Essene. So the things he knew most people didn't. And can you imagine the pains he would have had to go through to try and get you to understand what he understands? And so Jesus spoke in parables. And what he spoke about in terms of the times we're in and the times we're moving into is simply knowing thyself. Knowing yourself, if you speak modern English. And knowing yourself is more than belief, more than faith. It is simply knowing. And I said to you in my other video entitled Halloween, You've Been Warned, that apocalypse simply means the unveiling, taking away that cloth that separates you from the other side, that keeps your duality broken. That is the unveiling, the undoing of that separating. So when you know thyself, you will be one with the universe. You will be a new person, an almighty being. And where are the examples of what I'm talking about? Well, you have to look no further than, I believe, the book of Luke. I think it's chapter 22, verse 10. And Jesus instructs his disciples to actually go and prepare the Passover meal. Passover. What is passing over? I'll leave that to you to decide. And what he says in his instructions to his disciples is, go into the city, and there you will find a man holding a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house that he enters. For anyone that knows astrology will immediately know what I'm speaking about. Jesus is talking about the passing over of the celestial timings or the celestial framework from Pisces into Aquarius. That is what Jesus is talking about. He is talking about the changing times of our place in this masterpiece called the universe. And the end times, this apocalypse, which is so-called doomsday, is not at all. Well, it is if you are speaking from your ego's perspective, because your ego will be doomed when you do face the apocalypse and you do know thyself. There is no place for the ego. And so you can say the ego is interpreted as the devil in the Bible. And that is the day when you, your real self, your egoless self, will face your ego full self. And at some point the ego will be defeated. And you will know thyself. That's what the Bible is talking about. That's what religion strives for each and every one of us to know thyself. Because once we know thyself, we realize there isn't self. So Jesus is simply talking about astrology. We are moving into a new house in the skies, the Aquarian age, or whatever word you will use depending on your language. And you are going to find yourself in a place whereby you have to defeat your old self. And your old self is going to put up a fight because it's doomed. It knows its time is up. So always be conscious of that. Always be conscious of what Jesus was talking about you coming to know yourself. And of course, those who love their ego so much, i.e. the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes, got rid of Jesus. Not that it wasn't part of the will, but they got rid of Jesus because of what he was talking about. They understood enough to get it, but they had too much pride to know it. And so they hated it, loathed it. But for me and for you, we know what's best for us, and that is knowing thyself. So all we have to do is make a concerted, sincere effort to go with the flow, to go with our hearts, and to know that once we fully release ourselves and know thyself, we'll be one, we'll be whole. And until then, your ego's going to put up a great fight in these turning times. So enter the house that he enters in and pass over. Pass over the ego. Come into a new realm, a new existence. And then you'll know Jesus and what he was talking about. You don't even need to get to that place through Jesus, because the truth is one, so he is part of whatever you call whatever. But bear that in mind.